because it's been stormy, and again, we are going to continue to see some of that weather for us. Let's look at Daytona Beach right now, mostly cloudy, 74 degrees. Everything is calm and quiet. We have had a lot of storms, though, and right now we don't have any issues here. Daytona up to Jax, down to Melbourne. All the rain, the clouds, and the showers are offshore for us right now. But as we head through the day, you know, we get some of that daytime heating. That could kick off the sea breeze and also just the thunderstorms into the afternoon hours. As we typically get into Florida, you kind of wait for them. It's been so hot, and there they go. And notice how they're a little bit inland. So that's your sea breeze kicking off, bringing everything a little bit farther inland. So sometimes you can be at the beach, and yes, you have a passing shower, but they're going to be pushing more inland. Showers and storms will continue as we head on into the evening hours. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about basically the haves and the have-nots in the Sunshine State, because on the East Coast, it's been really wet for places, while on the West Coast, we do see a drought developing. And I'll tell you what, we don't need any more rain into South Florida. That is one of those spots that has just been drenched and inundated by the showers. 1 to 2 inches of rain for us. This is for the week, so we still stay unsettled. As we go through the morning hours, everyone is clear to get out and do a little run here. Just maybe get outside, walk your dog. Off into the Carolinas, we do have just a few thunderstorms that are offshore, so maybe you're boating. You might want to hold off a second. But I do know early bird catches the worm. I do know that from growing up in Florida. You got to get on that boat early if you want to do any fishing. So let's have a look at what we're going to deal with in the south. Also, a few thunderstorms from Virginia down into the Georgia coastline for us. It has been hot. It is just all weekend. Everyone's complaining about how hot it was. And I'll say the movies were certainly packed this weekend. They're your afternoon storms firing up. Right on cue, Jordan.
As we work our
here on America's Morning Headquarters, we are talking tropics. What is this? It has a lot of lightning, has a lot of thunderstorms. Where's it heading to? Oh, we're not teasing yet. This is the whole segment. Sorry, I thought. Okay. Happy Monday, everybody. Thought we were teasing. Here's a look at our system. Yeah, exactly. Tease your hair in the morning. Yeah.
Hey, I was ready to go.
I'll have to wait for it, apparently. 80% chance of development. Again, the name is Emily, the next name that is on our list. We've been following this thing since last week, and it does look like it's going to stay out to sea, which is good, because we really don't need anything making landfall, of course, especially into southwestern Florida, where everyone's still recovering from Ian. But this one's going to do a zoop and loop out for us here. And it, you know, one of the reasons is our front that came through and cooled us off into the northeast. That's going to help pick this up and scoop it out. So that's good news, though. The National Weather Service just wants to invest everything now, don't they? 30% chance of development here on this little boundary. You can see those boundaries develop. That's something that we watch for this time of year, is a front comes through and you look to see if that will develop. But there's a lot going on in the tropics, wouldn't you say, here, especially into the East Pac. We have a lot of areas that we are watching and will continue to do so. But here's this system. There's our other boundary. And you can see how that's the one they were talking about there. And then here's the other one there that gets scooped up, again, by a front. So you can have a ton of development, Jim, here in Atlantic, but if we have fronts that keep sweeping everything out to sea, then we don't have any landfalls, which is good.
And then we have low.
Record streak of 31 days at 110 or higher. We started here on June 30th. We hit 112 yesterday, but guess what? We have a chance to finally break this streak, which I'm so happy to say.
Go back to that map for 1 second.
Okay.
I want to show you something. If you take away, what day is it? This day and this day. Look at how many days you would have had at 115.
Yeah, which is absurd.
You would have almost tripled the record.
Yeah,
so that's crazy.
It is crazy. We're going to get back up there, but first we're going to drop back down. It looks like our high today should be below 110. The same into Tuesday and Wednesday. It's still hot, but then we'd go right back up into those 115s that Jim was mentioning. So the question is why?
The heat dome.
It's
the
all
apex
about the
of the
heat
ridge.
dome. Yeah. So if you're right under the center of this ridge, you're going to get the hottest temperatures. And what happens is this is going to meander away from this area. That's one of the reasons, Jim.
And for a second, right?
For
just enough to get us down below 110. Yeah. But then as we go through the week, the ridge builds southeast. It elongates to the west. And voila, we're right back where we started.
But right here in the center of the country, where you're under the heat dome, you're going to have some of those hotter temperatures. So right. Phoenix today, 107 for you. But again, where it's locked in place, we're going to have the hottest temperatures. Clockwise flow brings moisture, which also helps cool us down.
Have we even had rain in Phoenix?
No, we haven't, and we'll get to that here in just a second to show you the stats.
I didn't think we had rain.
But the clouds, the showers, that could lead to flash flooding, so that's not good. Thunderstorms are possible for us, and then here's that stat Jim was looking for. There it is for you, Jim.
Wow, nothing, zero.
Zilch. We've had
very, very slow.
Into Flagstaff.
You know what I'd love to see is this compared to last year at this point?
Yeah,
for all these areas, because
we had a good monsoon last year, if my memory is correct.
Big time.
So there it is. This will help us out too. So it's not only about the high moving away from this area, it's that southerly flow bringing the rain in.
Yeah. And that's our shot at rain in Phoenix today and tomorrow. And I think after that, we go back to the dry.
Jordan, you know how it is out here. Getting that rain and those clouds, I mean, it is just such a relief.
It's everything. It's everything.
It's Monday, July 31st. This is America's Morning Headquarters. Quarters, north, south, north, southeast, west. Everybody gets thunderstorms today. Little pockets of severe weather are possible in the desert southwest and the northern high plains and also into the south. Right now, our radar is lighting up, especially from Nebraska all the way down into Arkansas. We have our heat dome. Of course, everything's going to go around that as well. Dallas, Houston, Shreveport, New Orleans among the cities who are facing the hottest temperatures today. Jim, it's pretty impressive. We don't have advisories anymore for the southwest, but we do have them into portions of the south.
Do you think they come back?
Yes.
As this week, though, for the southwest?
100%.
Because we're going to 150.
We're going to go above that threshold again. We do have heavier showers that have fallen here into portions of Florida, right? But on the West Coast, yeah, there's been a little rain, but it's really not been a lot. And mind you, we are in the rainy season for us here into Florida. This is where we have Fort Lauderdale. This is the wettest year to date in Fort Lauderdale, while Sarasota is seeing the driest year to date. So we have the haves and the have-nots, and that's the story here that we're going to continue. So notice Sarasota is down 15 inches, while Fort Lauderdale is up nearly 3 feet. 3 feet we're up, which is just absolutely wild. This is going back. We've had several different events where we've had tremendous rainfall, double-digit rainfall. Remember this one here in April? This wreaked havoc. We had, 20 or 30 inches in like 24 hours. It was just outrageous amounts of rainfall flooding South Florida. And it continued as we made our way into July. July, we had our daily record rainfall of 6.19 inches, the wettest July day ever recorded. The previous record was 5.68. So we blew that away. And because of this lack of rain on the west coast of Florida, we are seeing very, very dry conditions. In fact, extreme drought. But I'm not too worried about Florida. It is our rainy season. You get one tropical entity and that will wipe the whole thing out. Storms here along the East Coast, and Jordan, those will continue to fire up, not only as we head through the afternoon, but continue and really as we head into tomorrow as well.
It's crazy.
This is a family show.
I'm sorry.
As our producer Kate said.
And
at the top of the hour in America's Morning Headquarters, summer thunderstorms knock out power for this firing up into Florida. Showers and thunderstorms. This is our rainy season after all, so we do anticipate seeing this type of weather. Right now, Daytona Beach, just seeing those cloudy skies, temperatures into the 70s. Visibility right now, 10 miles, all's good for us. Everything is quiet for the most part, unless you're heading maybe out on your boat. That's where things get a little bit rockier out there, especially off of Southwest Florida down by the Everglades where we have some of those storms. Speaking of them, we'll get them firing up today, the East Coast. You have the possibility of some of those stronger boomers out there, but it's not just the East Coast. We also see it here. Look at our sea breeze kicking in for us and those showers extending anywhere from Central Florida all the way down into South Florida. And we will see more of it into this evening. It quiets down overnight and then refires back up as we head into tomorrow again, as we do typically see in Florida. We don't need any more rain into southeast Florida, and we're going to talk in more detail about that a little bit later. But heavier showers, that's exactly where they'll be concentrated all the way through this week. And you can see that as we go into the Carolinas, there's also going to be the chance for storms. There's a few just offshore right now as we start off our day. But otherwise, Wilmington, some cloudy skies for you. And then as we get that daytime heating, we do have some boundaries in the atmosphere that are going to help everything kind of kick off too. From Virginia down towards the first coast of Florida, showers and thunderstorms for us, especially when we hit that kind of like 3 o'clock hour when you get all that heat and humidity starting to bubble up. And remember, the atmosphere is just trying to balance itself out here. So you get heat, humidity, clouds, showers, and then the rain is going to pour on down. So we'll be watching for it. But Jordan, this will give us some nice relief from all those warm temperatures we've been dealing with.
Well, I'll tell you what,
on in the tropics, but we are getting deeper and deeper into the season. Of course, the peak of hurricane season is around September 10th. So we still have a ways to go. And you can have so many storms hitting late September, October, even into November, late October. Think about Sandy hitting late October. Wilma was a late October storm, so can't let your guard down. Right now, we do have a big cluster of thunderstorms that we're watching. This does have an 80% chance of development. The next name on the list is Emily, so that's something that we will follow as this goes off to the north. We don't anticipate this to affect really too much land. One of the reasons is that boundary that brought us a cooler in the northeast, helping sweep that away. And you can see this is a long boundary, and you have to watch for low pressures to develop along those. So there's about a 30% chance of development with this one moving very quickly off to the east-northeast at 24 miles an hour. That is going to stay north of Bermuda and also south of Canada, so it's going to go right in between the two. We have a couple invests here we're watching in the Atlantic, and then we have a few areas to watch here also into the eastern Pacific. But let's look at the path of both of these storms. This is the first one I showed you, and then the second one I showed you racing off. But as you can see, we have another trough coming in, so that's what's going to pick up the potential Emily, and it will get tangled up into that system, and then not a whole lot after that. Things stay pretty quiet for us here out in the MDR. But again, we still have a lot of hurricane season to go, and Jordan, as we know, it only takes one.
Yes, that's right. Hey,
facts for you here, starting with the heat and Phoenix. Our previous streak of 110 or hotter days in a row. We had 18 was the previous streak. We've had 31 now.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Are you like me? Like, just go one more day, get the whole month.
Well, listen, depending on what month it is, 30 days, you know, it is a month. 28 days is a month.
But still, it blows the old record away. We cool down today, tomorrow, Wednesday, below that 110. But then, guess what, Steph? It's back.
We back up. And the reason being is, if you're right over the center of this high pressure, you're going to get the hottest air. That high is going to shift into the plain, so we'll see our temperatures warm. And we will also see that clockwise flow bring up some monsoon rain, so that'll help us out. Phoenix today is only supposed to go to 106. It's still hot, but it's not 110 plus or 115.
Who's going to notice that?
No one's.
Would you? I mean, with all due respect, I mean, I don't even know if you noticed that. But you may, because you lived out there. This is our only shot at rain, too, next 2 days in Phoenix.
That high pressure is going to be locked in place, so that clockwise flow, that's going to pull up the moisture. So that gives us more cloud cover. It gives us a chance for rain, and that means that will help with those temperatures, too. And at least it'll help cool you off, Jim. That's the good thing, because without the rain, we haven't had a chance to cool off at all.
We have not. And this is what may bring us down. We get convective, we get cloudy. But be careful, because when it comes down, it's going to be coming down. And you saw the lightning yesterday at Tucson. Yeah. Holy smoke. So, yeah, 0. So far, Tucson's had some wet weather in Flagstaff, but nothing like we had last year. Last year was a really good month.
It was a really good year. But as Jim mentioned, you have to watch out for things to really pour down. You could get some flooding. You could get some flash flooding. And it's going to continue as we head through the overnight. It, tapers down a little bit tomorrow. It fires right back up again for us. But that means we can see flooding. That's a real issue here for us.
And you saw, we showed video, 0.4 of an inch of rain near Flagstaff.
It doesn't take a lot.
And they had flooding in the arroyo there. Keep an eye on Denver, too. I'm worried about Denver this week. There you see Flagstaff, though, in it through tomorrow morning for potential flooding.
All right, Jordan.
All right, coming up
Monday, July 31st at America's Morning headquarters, and we are talking thunderstorms today, north, south, east, west. Everybody gets it. Pockets of severe weather are possible in the desert southwest, the northern high plains, and the south. Right now, our radar is lighting up as storms are tracking really around our heat dome, and you can actually see that counterclockwise flow. Look at that, everything going up and around it, and then coming on down into Arkansas, into Louisiana as well. Speaking of Louisiana, New Orleans, Shreveport, Houston, Dallas, we are all facing dangerous heat today. That is where we have heat advisories, and the heat advisories have been dropped in the southwest. I don't know if it's going to last very long, but at least for the next day or so, Jim, we don't have those advisories because our temperatures are a touch cooler than they've been. I don't even know if I can use cooler and 106 in the same sentence.
I know, we were talking about that.
Basically, this is an East Coast, West Coast thing for you. If you just look, year-to-date rainfall, South Florida sticks out like a sore thumb. We have loads of it here into South Florida. And Fort Lauderdale, in fact, is seeing our wettest year-to-date on record, while Sarasota is seeing our driest year-to-date on record. Tampa and Naples, you're in that as well. Ocala, we are on the above-average side right there in the center of the state. So a little closer detail. Sarasota is the driest year-to-date on record, 15 inches below average. Look at in Fort Lauderdale, though, with the wettest, we are nearly 3 feet above average on rainfall. It's outrageous. And this month alone, we had a daily record rainfall, the wettest July day on record. So if any July day we've ever had, it was the wettest on record, July 27th, and it blew away the old record of 5.68 set in 2013. And, you know, when we see more records like this, it's, you know, the potential of our changing climate is causing this because you get more warmth, evaporating all that more moisture, and you're going to get heavier rainfall totals. We need rain here along the West Coast. I'm not too worried about Sarasota, Tampa area, because it is the rainy season, and we will see storms fire up as we head throughout the afternoon. They are going to blow right over this area, giving us a few showers. And then, of course, as we have one tropical entity even kind of near the area, we could wipe out that drought in a split second, Jim.
Isn't it amazing, Abrams?
America's morning headquarters, summer thunderstorms knock out power for hundreds. We've seen a lot of them, and we're going to get a lot more as we head through the day today and also as we head into tomorrow as well. So right now, this is Lauderdale by the Sea, and that is the sun, I believe, that's giving us that funky look here on the camera, right? That looks like the sun reflecting right off the ocean and bouncing right into the camera. Our visibility is 10 miles. No issues here from the First Coast all the way down towards Fort Pierce. That drive on I-95, which is so boring. It could get a little more exciting, though, with some storms firing as we head into the afternoon hours for us, not only on the East Coast, but also as we look on the West Coast of Florida, too. So here we go. As we head into the afternoon, boom, 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 we're going to see that thunder rolling across the state for us, also into the interior sections of Florida, too. We get it on both coasts for us. And we're going to talk a little bit later about how we really don't need the rain here into South Florida, where we're going to get more of it as we head into our Tuesday, and where we really could use it. And that's here along the West Coast. We'll show you just how bad our deficit is there in and around the Tampa, Sarasota stretch. Still to come, 1 to 2 inches of rain here for us into the tip of Florida, south of Alligator Alley. Right now, all is quiet. Storms just off of the Outer Banks for us. And as we go through the afternoon, we'll get some of those storms, too, stretching anywhere from Virginia all the way down into Florida. So let's watch it develop as we get everything to fire up into the afternoon hours. And showers and storms wait until about that 2-3 o'clock hour to really get booming out there. And you know it only takes one of these to take a tree down and have that fall on your car or something like that. So keep that all in mind as we head through the afternoon hours. But it's not just the Carolinas. We continue to see these storms firing up into Florida, but it's our rainy season after all, Jordan, so it's really no surprise.
Well, up in the Northeast.
Now have a visible satellite in, and you can see this is kind of where your eye goes, right? But if you look right in this area, you can see kind of an overall broad counterclockwise spin that's trying to happen. But that's part of the problem with this, is that we don't have a well-defined center of location where you get that counterclockwise flow. So we kind of have an overall broader spin happening here, but it's not well defined. Now, this does have an 80% chance of development. It does look like it will be in an area that is more conducive for development as it heads off to the north and just to the east of Bermuda. We'll get some waves from this system as it curves around and makes its way out to the Atlantic. We also have a boundary. Remember that boundary that came through and cooled us off in the Northeast? That's helping direct our system, but also you have to watch these for low pressures to develop. And there's a slight chance. This is now down 20%. It was at 30% last hour, but with our 8 o'clock update, we're down to 20% chance of this developing. The next name system would be Emily, and it looks like that first one I showed you, this Invest 96, this one has the best chance of getting that next name. I can't believe we're already in the E name, and it's, you know, not even August yet, though August is tomorrow. There is that bigger potential of a storm, but Jordan, there's a trough that's going to keep it out to sea.
All right,
we're so happy to bring some cloudy skies and rain to us, but we are streaking. We might break the streak today. Today might be the day that we break the streak.
110 or better is what Steph's talking about, okay? We've had that. I'm actually surprised we got through the weekend. I thought we were going to break it before then. But today it looks like it's going to be a little bit cooler. But look at the fact that we went 31 days and we broke the old streak of 18.
We almost doubled it.
That's amazing.
That is huge there. So this heat has been really rough into Phoenix, right? The longest 115-degree streak, Jim.
Twice.
There we go.
We did it twice. So we should really put this in green, too, because we really did it twice so far this year, which is kind of crazy.
Which we tied back in June.
Right, and we actually have the number of days at 115 also tied. So if we, for the year, so if we go in, what we
we're going to break that record.
If we get here, this could be, or I'm sorry, 17. So 17, 18, 19, 20. We could get to 20 days.
But before we get to that, Jim, we're here to talk about how we're going to cool off. And someone did respond to us and say, you can't tell the difference between 110 and 106.
Good.
We get that.
Okay.
We totally get that.
We didn't think so.
But just for record purposes, why are we getting a touch cooler than we have been? It all has to do with where that high is centered.
It's all about the ridge.
It's all about the ridge.
It's all about the ridge.
So we have this big high pressure centered over the southwest. You get the most heat wherever the center of it is. It shifts east, so that means it's in the southern plains.
Right, but then it gets elongated, so it's coming back west while it goes off into the southeast.
But before we get to that,
Jim, I knew that was coming.
We are going to be at 106 in Phoenix, and again, we're not trying to say, oh, it's going to be a cold day in Phoenix by any stretch. We're just saying for record-keeping purposes, it's going to cool down. Now, Jim, what happens with this high pressure? There you go.
I'm almost afraid to talk right now. Anyway, it gets elongated a little bit. And, you know, before it elongates, it brings up this moisture. So if we get some rain into Phoenix, this would be the first time that we've had it.
Yeah,
right?
we have had
zero.
Literally zero.
There's been thunderstorms around, and they've seen lightning and
But
everything, but we haven't had any official rainfall.
Yeah, pockets heavy downpours could lead to flash flooding. Thunderstorms
Doesn't
today.
take much.
Prescott all the way down to the border there, but this is what Jim was alluding to.
Yeah, this is what I was. Before we get to that, all right. So let's go to the model now. God, Abrams, I really am out of order here. Anyway, we got to show this quick model because there's your rainfall in the Phoenix area. Jordan?
I'm only messing with him, Jordan, because I came up with this whole thing to explain why it was going to cool off,
right.
you know?
Yeah, and she didn't tell me, so
I just was doing my... You got to mess when you can.
It's Monday, July 31st at America's Morning headquarters. North, south, east, west. Everybody gets thunderstorms today with pockets of severe weather possible in the desert southwest, northern high plains, and in the south. And you can actually see the storms riding up and over that ridge into Omaha and dropping down into Louisiana. Also storms again here into the Sunshine State and places like Dallas, Houston, Shreveport, and New Orleans, all facing dangerous heat today. This is where we have our heat advisories. While in the southwest, we've finally been able to drop the heat advisories. Why is that? Because it's still going to be pretty hot, Jim. Let's explain.
Yes, it is going to be pretty.
We have more than a foot below average in some places. This is our rainfall year to date. You see throughout the I-10 corridor, we've had heavy showers. And down in and around Fort Lauderdale, we've had very heavy rainfall for us here. In fact, Fort Lauderdale, we are in the #1 spot with the wettest season to date, while Sarasota is the #1 spot for the driest season to date. So it's a matter of the haves and the have-nots for us here. A little bit of a closer look. Sarasota is 15 inches below average on rainfall, while Fort Lauderdale is nearly 3 feet above average on rainfall. We had all of that flooding that happened in April, and then in July, we had another big wet one here, a daily record rainfall, 6.19 inches, the wettest July day on record, blowing away the old record. So if you look at any month in July, any day in July, this is the wettest that we've ever had on record for any of those days. So we are, of course, in no drought there into the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area, but we still have a drought here from Tampa down towards Sarasota, even down into Fort Myers, as a matter of fact. Storms are going to fire up not only along the East Coast today, but we'll also get some on the West Coast. I don't think we're going to totally knock out the drought with these storms because they're all kind of the afternoon heating, sea breeze type of stuff coming through. But it is the rainy season, so you get one tropical entity and that could wipe everything out. But the problem is you get one of these heavier downpours over places like Fort Lauderdale and it could flood again because it's just so wet. And that flooding is definitely a possibility up and down the I-95 corridor for us. We will see those showers continue. This is all the way through Friday. The heaviest rain, Alligator Alley, southbound for us. Otherwise, as we go north of there, we have an inch or so of rain. But again, in one of those heavier downpours, you could get an inch an hour, and that could cause some flooding. It's not just Florida, though. Into the southeast, that's where Jim picks the story up. We have the chance for storms as well.
We do, and as we...
I will take it. We have to go all the way through the end of November. Let's take you out the door in the southeast, obviously a place that...
This sock looked like the ski mask with the holes for the eyes and everything.
That's a very good call there. Welcome to Pat on the First Climate Change Talk Show. I'm Steph Abrams.
And I'm Jordan Steele. Let's get into today's Facts or Facts. Roughly 40% of Americans say at least some of the food you eat is organic. So that means more farms are going organic to meet the need, right?
That's good.
More people are buying it.
Yeah,
that 1%, he's a California-based certified organic farmer known for his avocados.
But you might know him better for his music. We are celebrating National Avocado Day with Grammy Award-winning singer-songwriter Jason Mraz. I love
Today's
guac.
the day to indulge because, like we mentioned earlier, it's National Avocado Day.
Of course, as much as we love avocados, they don't stay good for very long. Once you cut them open, it doesn't take long for them to turn brown.
Right, and there are a lot of tips and tricks out there to keep avocado.
So then you can, use it, especially for smoothies
Do you have like
and stuff
a good
like that.
guacamole recipe that you do on your
No,
own?
but I bet you do.
Got a little salt, a little Frank's Red Hot in there.
A little
lemon,
salsa?
Little lemon,
Do you
little
put La
salsa.
salsa in there?
Yeah, that's all good. Anyway.
Another avocado lover, I think,
Now I'm hungry.
is joining us now. Colleen.
Who's not?
You say that. I'm doing Taco Tuesday tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah, you're
friends,
right.
and,
Nice.
and we're going to have guacamole. But I don't plan ahead, so I never have to figure out how to keep the avocados fresh.
just get it
I
right
just
then
eat
and
them
there.
right then.
Yeah.
So you guys know I don't cook.
I didn't know that.
Oh, well, now you do.
Oh, you don't
Yeah.
cook? Okay.
No, Oh, gosh.
You just consume.
Freezer feeds us. So, all right, well, we got some headlines. I think that in the future, sometimes you're going to have to think about these places that you're going, and they may not be the same vacation
Well, think
spots.
about the Great Lakes. Used to be glaciers were there.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
back in the day.
A
Now,
long
like
time
on
ago.
my travel list, I think like what do I want to see before it could go?
disappears.
Exactly.
Glaciers or snorkeling with the coral reefs.
Yeah, because they're
Problems
starting to
facing.
bleach out.
That's not the travel list I feel like most people think you
Yeah,
need to
I know.
have, but
I
you
know.
kind of do.
You're right.
Colleen, thank you for that. Well, we're going to switch gears here and talk about oceans because Jordan was just saying you got to get down there before all the corals bleach out. And we've had record-breaking highs. And just last week, a buoy off Manatee Bay in Florida recorded a temperature of 101.1 degrees. If confirmed, it could become the warmest ocean temperature ever recorded on Earth.
Yeah, our coral reefs are struggling to beat that heat. That's why NOAA is exploring an artificial reef, and they're using some state-of-the-art technology to do it. Check it out.
Well, that heat is continuing across the country, at least
Not
the
good.
southern half of the country. We can't
Yeah.
get rid of it, you know?
We do have some storms that are we're tracking across the nation. So let's get over to Colleen and give us a little bit of a weather update.
Yeah, how'd you know I was going to be talking about the heat? It is, of course, the big story.
Colleen, we appreciate it. We'll check back with you in a little bit. But first, coming up this hour on Pattern is one of Mother Nature's most...
The new chair of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, better known as the IPCC. He made a statement just one day after being voted in.
Yeah, Ski, a sustainable energy professor at Imperial College London, also gave his stance on where we stand with the Paris Agreement. A good point, at least that there is something happening. If we didn't have these goals, maybe nothing would
stagnant.
even,
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see what new climate goals will be set at this year's Conference of Parties, slated to start on November 30th in the UAE.
And it's a good reminder to always set goals for yourself.
Yes, I like that,
Always.
Jordan.
All right, switching gears now. Every year, a massive plume of dust blows from the Saharan Desert right across the ocean, finally landing in the Americas. But the plume might be shrinking as our climate changes.
Less dust sounds like a good thing, right? Well, Pattern climate science producer Ali Van Fleet explains why it's a little more complicated than that.
You have the lack of dust, and therefore you have more tropical storms brewing because it doesn't limit it. Then are we generating more heat to the polar areas and more polar
That's
cool
part of
to
the
the
problem, right?
Equatorian
Even
regions?
things that you think are bad might be bad in one instance, but really good in another.
Right.
Well, for more stories like this, check out Pattern. We don't have to worry about any hurricanes right now.
Thankfully.
Yes.
Let's get an update weather-wise. What's going on?
Yeah, I am going to be updating on the tropics in just a bit. But first, I want to talk about what it means for the heat in the Southwest.
Yay! So happy it's
Finally.
finally kicked in.
All right, coming up
Thanks,
next on Pattern, add this to the list of...
We're home for the latest news in climate change and sustainability. I'm Steph Abrams.
And I'm Jordan Steele. We're going to get into today's hot topics. Now, here's a program to sure knock your socks off. Instead of throwing away worn holy socks into the trash, how about we find a way to recycle them? Would you buy them if they were recycled, knowing someone else used recycled socks? I probably would, actually, like you
Yeah,
said.
you would.
Clean, so as long as they're like soft. Like, you know, how much better is it wearing soft material than that like hard...
What are the socks that I gifted you recently? Are those soft enough
they're
for your
soft.
liking?
Oh, yes,
okay, I wasn't
definitely.
quite sure.
Stretchy, soft sock.
There's also the sock controversy of wearing socks with slides.
Oh, everybody's doing that. That's
Okay,
like
that
the thing
didn't-
with
that
kids
used to
these
not
days.
be cool.
But now it's that is all they do.
Is wear socks with slides.
Socks with slides. Because if they don't, their feet get sweaty, and the certain kind of slides that they're using is made out of material that's very slippery.
Okay,
so
socks
they keep the
and
socks on.
flip-flops, which are different than slides.
Correct.
Where it goes in between your toes.
Yeah.
Is that a no-go?
It's a no-go.
Okay,
Come
good
on,
to
you
know.
can't do that. Although I have had to run outside real quick,
You
and I'm
do,
like, I'm
yeah.
gonna take one. Let me just do this real quick.
It's a good
Not
look.
in public.
All right, let's go on to hot topic number 2. Offshore wind farms could help countries' OG goals, but it's not the only benefit they provide. Engineers...
There, you know, you try to go to an area that's got some kind of shelter. The Army Corps of Engineers create those big jetties.
Yeah.
Like surfers are next to them and stuff. There's always fishermen there catching stuff. So it's no wonder that these these, lobsters finding these big rocks to hide in.
I remember learning as a kid, we went out fishing, in Florida on someone's boat, and they were like, even just a piece of wood in the middle of the ocean, they hang out under there. Do you know why that is? They don't like to...
It's so hot. They were hiding from the sun.
Is that what it is?
They're like hiding from prey above.
I feel like we need a reality show. We need cameras on these crabs down there, to see if they're like building up the rocks and what exactly they're doing.
But they have to have someone has to voice them.
Right.
You got to have people
like
voicing...
Mystery, what was it, Mystery Science Theater 3000 or whatever, when they had those old movies, the two aliens that were voicing them. Remember that show?
All right, think for a second how much concrete is around you. Sidewalks, driveways, and every pound of concrete that we produce emits just under 1 pound of carbon dioxide. Now, this is because of the cement, the powdered ingredient used to make that concrete. But
we've seen a couple different mixtures, if you will, right, of this that binds the cement together. Right. That's what that fly ash is. I had to look it up.
The biggest thing is going to be from withstand a big hurricane if you're building a bridge or maybe an earthquake. They just want to make sure that bonding is tight like we've had this whole time. But we know the concrete we have right now is not good.
But how cool would this be if not only buildings, remember that bike we had on a while ago that was pulling in poor air quality on the bike to clean it or whatever?
That's right.
If everything around us is doing something,
removing carbon,
I feel like we'd
go down
win.
fast.
I would think so.
Project Drawdown would happen sooner rather than later.
I agree with you on that. That'd be really cool. All right, coming up next here on Pattern, vehicles shrouded getting sick across the Southwest, and it's all because of something called valley fever. Have you heard of that? I had to Google it and look into what it was exactly. There's an uptick in cases, and scientists say climate change is to blame.
2/3 of all those flu-like infections are contracted in Arizona, and that's where we find today's guest, Dr. Andrew Comrie, with the University of Arizona's Valley Fever Center for Excellence. We appreciate you joining us to talk about this, because, this is not something that we use in our everyday lingo. You guys might there in Arizona, but can you at least explain the basics of valley fever? Why is it impacting your region specifically? More rain, and then no one will have it anymore.
Easy. That's so easy to get in the Southwest. Yeah. Well, over the last 20 years, the number of cases is actually up 7-fold. So what is the climate correlation?
Yeah. Big storms, these big dust storms, are we seeing an increased trend over the last several years that you know of?
Yeah, the number
that people that live in these western states can do to protect themselves and their families?
Real quick, can you wear a face mask during these dust storms? Will that help at all from ingesting it?
It might.
Much. We appreciate it. Climatologist Dr. Andrew Comrie for your time and this interesting topic, because we talk about these dust storms all the time.
Yeah.
Literally think heads up, sickness is on the way.
Usually you can heal from it. You can get a rash, you can get a fever, it can get into your lungs, but some people can have long-term lasting effects from it getting into their lungs.
Right?
No,
it's not fun.
No one wants to be sick. All right, for more stories like these, check out Pattern. By the way, blossoming. I'm going to start using that if you don't mind. I like that.
Some new words.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, coming up next on Pattern, the future of fighting wildfires.
Artificial intelligence is helping firefighters identify wildfires with cameras that can detect smoke without the help of humans.
Reporter Steve Large from our CBS partner KOVR shows us how AI is also generating immediate predictions on where those wildfires are heading next. So soon, you're going to have the AI saying, okay, there's a fire, and then AI is going to tell the drones, AI, to go out, and they're going to pre-treat it and dump the water.
They'll know exactly how much, too.
Because they'll know where it's going.
Right. Because they'll go toot, 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 toot with their little brains.
That's right, like R2-D2.
That did kind of sound like R2-D2, actually. All right, well, let's go over to Colleen and have our final check of weather here. And Colleen, there is a lot going on in the Atlantic.
Yes. Here I go.
Don't tell me that.
But we've already had our first hurricane, which usually doesn't come till August. This next named storm would be Emily. I mean, we are so far ahead of schedule, and this is supposed to be an El Nino year.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and yes, we've been very active here. So the question is, do they move where those arrows are going, or do we have this El Nino-like pattern that blocks them and keeps them at sea? That's something we'll have to wait and see. Anyway,
right, Colleen,
that's that.
Thank you.
That was a good discussion.
She's finished. She's like,
it was a good discussion.
I've had enough. It's back to you guys.
All right.
I've had enough.
So here's what's coming up tomorrow on Pattern. Extreme heat.
I mean, mermaids are real too, but.
Of course. Woo TV's coming up next to track some of these storms. We'll see you guys tomorrow.